Hello everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In the last video, you learned about the Shape Builder tool in Adobe Illustrator. If you missed that video, don't worry, I've added the link in the description so you can watch it later. Today, I'm going to teach you about the Pathfinder tool in Adobe Illustrator. I'll explain how it works and how you can use it to create and modify different shapes. But before we start today's tutorial, I have a quick quiz for you based on the last video. If you haven't watched the previous video yet, I recommend watching it first. Then come back and take the quiz. Alright, let's get started. To open Pathfinder, go to the top menu and select Window, then Pathfinder. Or use shortcut key Shift-Control F9. This will open the Pathfinder panel. So, what exactly is the Pathfinder tool? The Pathfinder Have tool is one of the most useful features in Adobe Illustrator for working with multiple shapes. It allows you to combine shapes, cut shapes from each other, create intersections, and divide shapes into different parts. Pathfinder is a set of tools for combining and cutting shapes to create new shapes in Illustrator. The Pathfinder panel is divided into two main sections: Shape Modes and Pathfinders. First, we have Shape Modes. Now let's look at the different shape modes one by one. So, first of all, we need to create a few objects to understand how the Pathfinder tool works. I'll start by selecting the Rectangle tool from the toolbar and draw a simple rectangle on the artboard. Now, I need a copy of this rectangle. To duplicate it quickly, I'll hold the Alt key on my keyboard and drag the rectangle to the side. As you can see, this creates an exact copy of the original rectangle. Next, I'll change the color of this shape. I'll select the rectangle and choose a color from the Fill option. Now, let's select both objects. Next, go to the Pathfinder panel. The first option under Shape Modes is Unite. So what does Unite actually do? When we select two or more objects and click on Unite, Illustrator combines them into one single shape. As you can see, our two separate rectangles have now become one single path. So whenever you want to combine multiple overlapping objects into a single shape, you can simply select them and use the Unite option. Now, Unite is great when you want to merge multiple shapes into one. But there's one problem. What if you want to change the position of one of the shapes after merging them? Normally, you can't move the individual shapes separately because Illustrator has combined them into a single path. But don't worry, there's a way to keep the shapes editable, and I'll show you how. First, let's go back to our original position by pressing Ctrl-Z. Now, select both objects and go to the Pathfinder panel. This time, instead of simply clicking on Unite, hold down the Alt key and click on Unite. As you can see, Illustrator has merged the objects, but the original shapes are still separate and editable. This means we can change their positions or modify their shapes whenever we want. To edit an individual shape, simply double-click on the shape. This will enter isolation mode. Now, you can select the individual shape and move it wherever you want, or modify it according to your requirements. So remember, click Unite normally creates a single combined path. Alt-click Unite creates an editable compound shape. The second option under Shape Modes is minus front. As the name suggests, this option subtracts the front object from the object behind it. But here's an important question. How do we decide which object is in front? In our example, what if I want to make the second object the front object? It's very simple. Go to the Layer panel and change the order of the object's layers, and move the second object above the first one. This will make it the front object. Now, select both objects and click on minus front. As you can see, Illustrator subtracts the front object from the back object, creating a cutout shape. So remember, the front object is subtracted from the back object. Now, just like we did with Unite, we can also keep the shapes editable. If you hold down the Alt key and click on minus front, Illustrator creates an editable compound shape instead of permanently combining the paths. Now, we can still modify the individual shapes. To change the position of a shape, simply double-click on it to enter isolation mode. Then, use the Selection tool to move it wherever you want. And if you want to modify the actual anchor points or shape, so minus front is perfect when you want to cut one shape out of another while still having the option to keep the shapes editable. Now let's move on to the third shape mode, Intersect. So what does Intersect actually do? Intersect keeps only the overlapping area between two or more objects. All the areas that don't overlap are removed. In our example, we have two rectangles that are partially overlapping. When we use Intersect, Illustrator keeps only the area where these two rectangles overlap, and the remaining parts are removed. There's another important thing to understand here. The appearance and attributes of the frontmost object are applied to the resulting shape. In our example, the frontmost rectangle is red, so after applying Intersect, the new shape will also have the red fill color. Now, let's select both objects and click on Intersect. As you can see, Illustrator has kept only the overlapping area, while all the non-overlapping areas have been removed. So, in simple words, Intersect keeps the common overlapping area and removes everything else. The fourth and final option under shape modes is exclude. As the name suggests, exclude works almost opposite to Intersect. With Intersect, Illustrator keeps only the area where the objects overlap. But with exclude, Illustrator removes the overlapping area and keeps the parts that do not overlap. So in our example, we have two rectangles with a small area where they overlap. Let's select both objects and click on Exclude. As you can see, the overlapping area has been removed, while the non-overlapping areas remain. And just like Intersect, the appearance and attributes of the frontmost object are applied to the resulting shape. In our example, the frontmost object has a red fill, so the resulting exclude shape will also have the red fill color. So remember it this way: Intersect keeps the overlapping area, exclude removes the overlapping area, and in both cases, the properties of the frontmost object are applied to the resulting shape. Now, let's move down to the Pathfinder section. The first option here is Divide. So, what does Divide actually do? Divide separates overlapping and non-overlapping areas into individual objects. Let's understand it with a practical example. First, select both of our rectangles and click on Divide. As you can see, Illustrator has divided the shapes into three separate objects. We have the left non-overlapping area, the middle overlapping area, and the right non-overlapping area. But currently, these objects are grouped together. To see them separately, simply right-click and choose Ungroup, or press Shift-Ctrl-G. Now, as you can see, we have three separate objects, and we can select, move, or modify each one in. The next option in the Pathfinder section is Trim. So what does Trim actually do? Trim removes the overlapping areas of the back objects where they are covered by the front objects. Let's understand this with a practical example. First, select both objects and turn off the stroke. This is important because Trim does not work with strokes in the same way. It works with the object's filled areas. Now, select both objects and click on Trim. To see the resulting shapes separately, ungroup the objects by pressing Shift-Ctrl-G. As you can see, the overlapping area has been removed from the back object by the front object. Now, let's see how Trim works with multiple objects. I'll create three rectangles and arrange them so that they overlap each other. Now, select all three objects and click on Trim. Again, let's ungroup them. As you can see, each object has been trimmed where it was overlapped by an object in front of it. So, in simple words, Trim removes the overlapping portion from the back object wherever it's covered by a front object. The next option in the Pathfinder section is Merge. So, what does Merge actually do? You can say Merge as a combination of Trim and Unite. If the objects have different appearances or attributes, Merge works similarly to Trim. But if the objects have the same appearance and attributes, Merge combines them into one single shape, similar to Unite. Let's understand this with a practical example. First, select both of our rectangles. Now, I'll create a copy of both objects by holding the Alt key and dragging them to the left. So now we have two sets of rectangles. In the first set, I'll give the two rectangles different colors. In the second set, I'll make both rectangles the same color. Now, let's select the first set and click on Merge. Because these two objects have different attributes, Merge works like trim. As you can see, the overlapping area is removed from the back object by the front object. Now, let's select the second set of rectangles and click on Merge. This time, both objects have the same attributes, so Merge combines them into one single object. So remember, different attributes, Merge works like trim. Same attributes, Merge works like unite. The next option in the Pathfinder section is Crop. So what does Crop actually do? Crop keeps the overlapping area and creates it as a new object, while also separating and hiding the front object. At the same time, it removes the remaining parts of the back object from the result. The resulting overlapping area takes the appearance and attributes of the back object. Let's understand this with a practical example. First, select both objects and click on Crop. As you can see, only the overlapping area remains from the back object, while the rest of the back object has been removed. The front object is also separated and hidden. Now, let's select the result and ungroup it. As you can see, the hidden front object is now separated from the remaining overlapping area. We can select this hidden object, change its position, or even give it a different fill color. So even though the object was hidden after using Crop, it is still a separate editable object. In simple words, Crop keeps the overlapping area, removes the unwanted parts of the back object, and hides the front object while keeping it as a separate object. The next option in the Pathfinder section is Outline. So what does Outline actually do? Outline converts the selected objects into strokes and paths, removing their fill. Let's understand it practically. First, select both objects and click on Outline. As you can see, Illustrator has converted the objects into outlines. Now, let's ungroup them. As you can see, each outline is now separated into individual paths, and we can select and modify them independently. So, in simple words, Outline converts the selected objects into separate editable paths and removes their fill. The next option in the Pathfinder section is minus back. As the name suggests, minus back works opposite to minus front. With minus front, the front object is subtracted from the back object. But with minus back, the back object is subtracted from the front object. Let's understand this with a practical example. First, select both objects and click on minus back. As you can see, Illustrator removes the back object from the front object, leaving the remaining part of the front object. So, remember it this way. Minus front subtracts the front object from the back object. Minus back subtracts the back object from the front object. That's how the minus back option works. And that's the introduction to the Pathfinder tool in Adobe Illustrator. And now the answer to the quiz question we asked at the beginning of the video is on your screen. The most important thing is not just memorizing the names of these buttons. You should practice them. Take two circles. Try Unite. Try minus front. Try Intersect. Exclude. Then combine those techniques to create your own logo or icon. The more you practice, the faster you'll become at creating professional vector artwork. If this tutorial helped you understand Pathfinder, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and follow for more Adobe Illustrator tutorials. I'll see you in the next tutorial.